Later. All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan. I'm the pastor and executive director here, and this is Noelle. She's the community director here. Yeah. Welcome to all of our online people. We're glad you're here. All of you in-house, even with a Nuggets Game 3 tonight, you're here.
They've got their priorities
to all
right.
Of you. Priorities, that's what we're talking about.
That's right.
Hey, this is a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And what we do here is break the silence of addiction and create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection.
There's one thing we don't do, though.
There is one thing we don't do. I think they should shout it out on the count of three.
All right.
1, 2, 3. We don't do shame in this community. All right, y'all, I'm so glad you're here. But we do other things outside of shame.
We do. Absolutely.
I mean, we don't do shame, but we do other things. And Noelle's going to tell us about it.
I would love to. If tonight is your first night here, welcome. We are so glad you are here. We have welcome bags right outside this door here for you. It has a little bit about what we do here at Free Spiritual Community, a little bit about what Wagon Coffee does. There is some fresh roasted Wagon Coffee in there. And just some... Yep, absolutely. And just some free swag. So please grab one outside this door on your way out. And just know we are so grateful to have you here tonight. This coming Thursday, we team up with the Phoenix every other month for a sober open mic night. So it's in this very room. The doors to the building open at 6 p.m. The cafe will be open, so grab a cup of coffee and come sit. It's always a packed house every time we do this with the Phoenix. It's a great time. Yep, musicians, comedians, poets. It's a great time. So we will be in this room from 7 to 9 for the performances, and so that is this coming Thursday.
And I always tell people, it's if you're not performing, it is our opportunity because I'm not performing. Yeah. Are you performing?
No, thank goodness you're not singing.
My goodness. But it's our opportunity to encourage other people who are taking the stage, oftentimes very new in their sobriety, their recovery, and we get to root them on, cheer them on, and they're doing big things. So come be a part of it. It's always a good time.
Absolutely. Really cool that we can allow space for that as well. Yep. So this coming a week from Sunday, we will be having a service day here at Free. So that's 10 a.m. to 1. If you're looking to get more involved here at Free or meet other community members or just kind of plug yourself in, I invite you to come a week from Sunday for a service day. We're going to be doing some light gardening work and just some projects, very small projects around the Free building. We're also going to be grilling, so we will have hot dogs and hamburgers here for you guys. So please stop by Sunday, a week from this Sunday, from 10 a.m. to 1 a.m.
It's going to be a good time.
Yep, absolutely. So we have a book study every summer, and this June, every Tuesday in June, starting on June 6th, we're going to be doing a 4-week book study on Accidental Saints by Nadia Bowles-Weber. Do you have a couple things to say about that?
So Nadia, some of you all know Nadia. She's a New York Times bestseller, but she's also she's a fellow pastor, and she's a recovering alcoholic, like many of us here. In fact, she's been here a couple of times. She was here a few weeks back celebrating 30 years sober. It's a great book. Kavita and Jackie are going to
raise
be
your hand,
leading
Kavita.
this.
There's Kavita. Absolutely.
So come be a part of it every Tuesday night in June. We'll meet back in the living room area of this big room. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, so that's from 6 to 7 on Tuesday nights. And like Ryan said, it's just back in that room. And it's a really comfy environment. If you aren't up on the book reading every week, we're going to send that out in our weekly email and announce it at service as well. But we just invite you to come whether you're up on the reading or not. It's just a great way to plug into community, and it's always such a good discussion every summer.
Yes.
So thank you, Kavita and Jackie, for running that for us.
Absolutely.
June 6th.
June 6th, it starts.
Well, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Noelle.
Okay, great.
All right, y'all, the way we get started in this community on a Saturday night is by celebrating together. We lift up the good. We start with the good. We don't ignore the heavy, hard things. We just save that for the end. But we start with the good. So maybe it's a sobriety anniversary, something you want to celebrate, or any kind of anniversary, a birthday, a new baby, a new home, new job, whatever it is you're celebrating. We want to celebrate it together in community, a very important part of our time together. We believe that God joins with us in the celebrations, that God is the source of it all. So we take 3 minutes for this. If you're online with us, just drop your comments in wherever you are, YouTube, Facebook, drop the comments. We want to celebrate with you there. And raise up your hand. Kiera will pass around a mic, and Justin will pass around a mic. Do you have a mic, Justin? Oh, yours is over here. So just raise up your hand. We'll take 3 minutes.
My name is Monique, and I'd just like to celebrate I've been out of prison for 1 year and 2 days.
All right. Congratulations.
My name's Ricky, and I've been clean off fentanyl for 16 days today.
Way to go, Ricky. I'm really proud of you for coming back and sharing that with us.
My name is Layla. I just got into sober living last week, got me a new job, and got 69 days sober today.
Way to go, Layla. Good stuff.
My name's Bobby, and I have my mother-in-law here for the first time, and I'm 4 months and 12 days clean and sober off.
Way to go, Bobby.
My name's also Bobby, tech director here. I want to celebrate my two tech people, Matt and Hallie, in the back. They've been absent for a while because they've been focused on college, and they both just graduated last weekend.
Yes, Matt and Hallie.
Hi, my name's Camille, and the guys at the front door told me to introduce my nephew's dog, Lady. She is his service dog. He attempted suicide about 12 years ago, and he failed, and he's a quadriplegic. And she actually has fourth stage stomach cancer. And but she's here with us tonight because he's in the hospital. So I just wanted to introduce her to everyone, and thank you for letting her be here.
Yeah, we'll celebrate that.
Hey everybody, my name is Oyate, and I ran the Kofax Marathon 5K. I finished 16 out of 175 in my class, men 30 to 39.
All right, congratulations. Even with all the smoke in the air, that's a feat.
My name's Sean. I got 90 days sobriety today.
All right, way to go, Sean.
Hi, my name is Shiloh, and I did a gymnastics competition, and I got first in beam.
Way to go, Shiloh.
Hi there, my name's Hallie. I just celebrated a year clean and sober.
Hallie, way to go.
My name's Patience, and I just started a new job working with foster youth that I'm really excited about.
Way to go, Patience.
My name is Chris. I'm also on the tech team, and I just want to celebrate the fact that my daughter was able to graduate kindergarten with her class yesterday, as I was able to be there with her.
Beautiful, Chris. All right, we got one more up front here in the second row.
My name is Sabrina, and I got 24 days clean and sober, and it's my first time here.
All right, welcome. We're glad you're here. Yeah. All right, Tammy Canaday is going to come join me up here to do our online celebrations. Welcome, Tammy.
Thank you. Good evening, guys.
All right, shall we celebrate online with our online peeps?
We should. We should celebrate. We have a guest in the house from Florida, too, I
My
think.
mother is in town this evening.
Mama.
Her name is Sherry. She loves to be pointed out.
Yes, she loves it. Shamia says, my husband got a new job and moving really fast, doing great, very proud of him.
All right, congratulations. Christopher says, I celebrate Amber, who keeps watching y'all online. Well, thank you, Christopher. Welcome, Amber. We're glad you're here.
Hey, Roger says, celebrating Kayla Wiseheart, 86 days sober.
86 days, Kayla, way to go. Dalton says, got 97 days clean today. Let's hear it for 97. Way to go, Dalton.
Awesome. And Sophia, celebrating being here instead of going out.
It's a good place to be. Way to go, Sophia. Glad you're here. Amber says, I'm celebrating Sage for supporting me. We will celebrate that all day long. Way to go, Sage.
And Missy, celebrating landing my new position after being out of work 1.5 years in addiction, 88 days sober.
88 days, that's big.
Way to go, Missy.
Way to go, Missy. Jen says, I can finally hear clearly. I saw this on the social
Yeah.
media. I have hearing aids thanks to my partner, Christy Sundberg, for continuing to stay on me about how beautiful my world would sound to me, and she is so right.
Awesome.
Way to go, Christy and Jen. So glad y'all
That's
are
a big
here.
deal.
Congratulations. Thank you, Tammy Kennedy, for being up here with me. All right, y'all, we are in week 4 of this series called Ever Wonder Why? And tonight I want to ask the question, why does faith matter?
Why? It's a simple question with no simple answers. Why do bad things happen? Why now? Why can't I stop? Or why are they throwing their life away? We've made it through hard times before, and I want to have faith, but I still wonder, why?
Why does faith matter? So, on Wednesday morning, I was meeting with my coach. We've had a coach that we've been working with since the very early days of Free to do visioning work with and big picture work. And anytime we come across issues, our coach helps us think through it and work through it. And so anyway, I'm meeting with him over the phone on Wednesday morning because he lives in a different state. And we were talking through this particular idea, and he's talking about this idea with me, helping me figure it out. And I said, Mark, the thing is, it's just really difficult for me to take that first step when I don't know the next step, and I'm not even sure of the end goal. And so it's really difficult to take that first step when you don't know what the end goal is. And he interrupts me and he says, Ryan, it is time for you to learn some Latin. Are you ready? I said, hit me. And so he speaks this Latin phrase, salvator ambulando. And I said, whoa, Mark, I'm like a freak for the Hebrew words and Greek words and Latin words and phrases. And so I don't even know what it means yet, but I have a feeling I'm going to be fascinated by it. I'm going to want to hold on to this one. So will you text it to me? So he texted me this Latin phrase, and then he explained what salvator ambulando means. Do we have it on the screen? There it is. In the Latin, it literally translates to, it is solved by walking. Yeah, salvatere. It is the root word of how to solve your problem. And then ambulando, it is the root word of ambulance, meaning get busy, because ambulances don't do much good in the world if they're just standing still. And as he's explaining this Latin phrase to me, I thought, dude, that's what faith is. I mean, that's what faith, we can't think our way there. We cannot intellectualize our way there or read enough books our way there. We have to actually do the hard work of opening ourselves to then walk through the process. Yeah, that's faith. Did you know 65 million adults living today in the U.S. have already given up on religious attendance? They've dropped out. And we're told that number increases every year by 2.7 million people, which means right now in this moment, hundreds and thousands of people are watching their doubts grow and their religious identity weaken. Now, some religious leaders get all kinds of freaked out about this because they're threatened by this, and they begin scrambling around saying, how are we going to save the institution? How do we keep the religious institution alive? And then other people, like myself, say, whoa. You do know God has never been bound by a religious institution. Like, God's spirit is always active in the world, and you could look outside the doors of the church for that. To some of them, I want to say, man, have you ever been to a 12-step meeting? Because you might just encounter God's spirit moving in the world in a very different and real way. Now, I hope you always hear me say here, as your pastor here at Free, and not just during this series, but as a community together always, that your doubts and your questions are welcomed here. Not only are they welcome here, we actually need your doubts and your questions. They help keep a community thriving. God is not at all threatened by your biggest questions. Religion might be, but God is not. But there is a second part to that, a truth that I think is very important. And that is, if you live only into your doubt, in my experience, you will lead a very boring, lonely, meaningless life that is completely devoid of beauty and mystery. You know, the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it describes our recovery. It says that we undergo a profound alteration to the way in which we react to life. It says that we become actually different people, a psychic change, that we are transformed people. And it reminds us that our recovery depends on an awareness of a power greater than ourselves. And then right after this description, they drop this really fascinating line, and I want to share it with you. They say, there's a principle, which is a bar against all information, which is proof against all arguments, and which cannot fail to keep a man or a woman in everlasting ignorance. What is that principle? That principle is contempt prior to investigation. If you are living into your contempt prior to investigation, you are not willing to walk through a process. Solitaire, ambulando would be very difficult for you. When you are living into your contempt prior to investigation, you look at the God stuff in any sort of faith project and you say, well, that's just stupid and I have all the answers and I know what's best. If you're living into your contempt prior to investigation, you are critiquing that in which you have not yet experienced. And I can't tell you all how often it happens with free. I have people all the time say, well, I know about free and you shouldn't be doing whatever. And I'm like, oh, so you've been here before? Well, no, I've never been there, but I know about, oh, have you joined us online? Now, I've never joined you online, but have you come to any events? I've never been there, but contempt prior to investigation. And y'all listen, if you are in recovery, you cannot afford to live into contempt prior to investigation. So what I want to do with you for just a couple of minutes is walk through with you the four developmental stages of faith. Some of you might remember a couple of years ago we did a book study. In fact, we did a whole series on Brian McLaren's book called Faith After Doubt. I highly recommend this book. Very, very good. Brian McLaren is a theologian and spiritual teacher, and essentially his entire book is built upon these four stages of faith. And it's so interesting to me because what he says about each stage is doubt is a passageway from one stage to the next. So you have to keep your doubt. You have to hold it in tension. You do not abandon your doubt. It's a passageway from one stage to the next. And even if you have not read the book, I think you'll find these fascinating. See if you resonate with them. I tried to just capture one sentence to describe each of them so I can walk through them with you. But the first stage of faith development is simplicity, and simplicity is marked by dualism. It's where the world is either black or white. It's wrong or right. It's us versus them. And in simplicity, you are learning how to obey the rules passed down from religious authorities. You learn how to be good. You are mimicking the practices necessary for belonging. Some of you have been there. The next stage is complexity. Complexity is, we begin to push back on the authorities because now we actually have some questions. We're no longer children. We want to self-differentiate. We are not our parents. We are not that generation. So we want to think for ourselves as self-reliant individuals. And then stage 3, perplexity. In perplexity, honesty is expected. Critique is inevitable. Doubt is a virtue. In perplexity, you are relentlessly challenging the status quo because you don't trust the system. You don't trust any system. There's no room for BS. And in perplexity, deconstruction is key. And it's interesting to note, McLaren says that most faith communities, most churches are firmly resting in stage 1 or 2, while the rest of much of society is firmly resting in stage 3. Deconstruction is key. You see this in many of the social justice movements of our day. But then you have stage 4, harmony. Yeah, see, in harmony, you realize that life is a mysterious gift. In harmony, you're seeking understanding, connection, and the common good. You have a reverent openness to the mystery of God, and faith is expressed in love. And it's not deconstruction that's key, but rather humility is key. And here's what I can tell y'all. Some of you have been through, you've moved through stage 1 and 2. Good for you. But I can speak autobiographically on this point. It's really easy to get stuck in stage 3 perplexity, where deconstruction is key. Bent on deconstruction. This is the way I lived my life. My life was built on much of my later college years and my seminary years. Deconstruct until there's nothing left. Tell me about your theology and I will poke holes in it. Tell me about who God is to you. Tell me about your spiritual journey, and I'll tell you why you're stupid. I'll tell you why your God is stupid. I had, at that time in my life, I was studying to be not a pastor, but a professor. I had no real community ethos in my life because I was the guy that would poke holes and then I would check out. And see, what I now know in looking back, because you can't see it when you're in it, but in looking back, man, I was wrestling with my own questions and doubts. I was battling through my own crisis of faith because it was that time in my life my brother was killed, and it raised all sorts of questions, killed by this disease of addiction. And this God that I thought I knew and trusted in started to crumble. And a childhood trauma came up and hard things came up in my life. And what I can tell you is even there, even in the midst of faith crisis, God was still with me in that moment, leading me forward, persuading me forward towards something else. I couldn't see it at the time. I can see it now. And the truth is, some of you have been through very difficult things in your life. You have faced and endured tremendous amounts of pain, the deepest kind of pain, and you didn't know what to do with it. Because let's be honest, there's not a manual for this stuff, right? Like there's not someone's handing you a manual telling you how to go through the pain when you experience it. And so because of that, you have become very good at deconstruction. And in a world that is riddled with pain and heartache, it's just too risky to give yourself to something bigger, to trust yourself into something bigger. But salvuter ambulando, it is solved by walking through the process. And I know this walking in faith stuff, it demands a lot of humility, that kind of hard humility. You know, I woke up this morning and I was talking to my wife, Tammy, and I said, man, I'm just not feeling the message tonight. And if you ever do public speaking or preaching, you're going to have those times where, man, I'm not feeling it tonight. I'm not feeling. I felt like, to be honest with you, I felt like it wasn't me. Not that it was bad information, but I thought this isn't me. And so sometimes what I know is salvuter ambulando. There's a very literal component to the walking. It's literally walking. So I went to the gym and I got my workout in, and then it was a nice day. It was a little smoky outside, still a little smoky outside, but I decided to literally just walk around the rec center, the parking lot, and do some laps. And I was praying, and what I can tell you is in that walking through the process, in the praying, I figured some things out. And what I can tell you is someone that I care about is fighting for her life in this disease of addiction. And some of y'all know this because as a community, we have prayed for a few weeks back. And if I can just be really honest with you, there are times I don't know what to do. There are times I don't know if it's right to pick up the phone and make that phone call and who to call. And I don't have the answers. They're not clear to me. And I have some doubt. And the truth is, sometimes I just want to act like I'm unaffected by it. And I want to act like I have all the answers because, well, I've been through this stuff and I should know how to do this. I mean, I'm pastoring a recovery community. I preached on boundaries last week. I should know how to handle this stuff. And I've got my mom in town and I want to show her that I know how to handle this stuff. And I have the boundaries and I know the answers. So I want to act like I have all the answers and know how to do it, but then I don't know. And do you know what I do when I don't know? Sometimes what creeps up is I go in and I start spiraling into guilt and shame. Because I'll start saying things like my mind will be going and say, Ryan, maybe you're not working your recovery. Maybe recovery is not working for you. I mean, you know the 9-step promises, right, Ryan? The 9-step promises remind us that we can now handle situations that used to baffle us. And sometimes it feels like I can baffle a situation that used to handle me. Have you ever been there? And in that moment of praying and walking this morning, it was like God was giving me this reminder. There's a component of humility. There's a degree of humility in admitting you don't know what to do. You don't have all the answers. And God was reminding me, be humble and be grateful. Today, you don't have to pick up a drink over those situations. Today, you get to go to your daughter's gymnastics tournament and actually be present for that thing. And sometimes what I know is God is saying, I got you. You've got to rest in that. Sometimes the walking, it's a very literal walking through the process of faith and doubt, but it's also learning to trust that you can be still up here and be still in here as you are walking through the process. And this morning, as I'm walking and praying, God gave me this another reminder. God said, remember when you thought you had all the answers? Remember, Ryan, when you had me in that nice little theological box and you kept me in that box and you thought you knew it all and I became to you an academic project? Oh, yeah, Ryan, you wrote a lot about me. You read a lot of books about me. You even talked about me. You preached about me from the pulpit. And guess what? You were still drunk. Because damn, I couldn't figure out how to pull out of the church parking lot on a Sunday afternoon and turn right to go home instead of turning left to go to the liquor store. I knew a lot about God. And my last drunk was a Sunday night, January 6, 2013, because I turned left to go to the liquor store again. And as I was praying and walking this morning, God gave me another reminder. Ryan, you have these models of humility all around you, and you need to look to these models of humility because it's that kind of hard humility, but it's really simple. You know, Sergeant Major, he was here at the last service, sitting right here on the corner. Sergeant Major is my sponsor. He was our guest storyteller a few weeks back. He's been sober for 47 years and active in recovery for 47 years. And do you know, he still, every time he shares his experience, strength, and hope, he still ends with, thank you, God, for my sobriety. 47 years, and he's still thanking the source. He's still aware of a power greater than himself. You mean 47 years, and he hasn't figured out how to do this thing on his own yet? 47 years, and he still realizes, like stage 4 faith development, that life is somehow a mysterious gift, and you better have some gratitude. It's where you start. Some of you will go to the Holy Land with me in about a year from now, in 2024, and it's going to be all kinds of fun. I can't wait. I've been to the Holy Land once in 2004 and once again in 2014, so it makes sense to go back in 2024. Now, when you're in the Holy Land, if you're coming on this trip, many of you here in this room are, some of you online are coming. When you're in the Holy Land, we'll go to this town called Bethlehem. It's in the West Bank. Bethlehem, inside of this town, there's the Church of the Nativity. It's the venerated site of where the Christ was born. And I say it's the venerated site because you've got to realize that we don't exactly have the afterbirth, so we don't know exactly where Jesus was born, but this is the site used to remember and recognize the importance. Now, to get in this door, to get into the church, there's this little doorway. It's less than 5 feet tall. When I was there in 2004, I completely missed it. I thought, man, it's just a structural error. That they built it short because that must be how they did it back then in the ancient world. They built it, maybe they wanted to make shorter, people feel more welcomed. Totally missed it. But I got it in 2014. You know what this is called? It's called the doorway of humility. To get inside, you literally have to bend down and walk. Because solitaire ambulando, it's solved by walking. And the message is really clear. You want to experience the sacred? You want to experience God? You must humble yourself and walk. Yeah. And some of you, you're currently moving through these stages of faith and doubt, and it feels like you just don't know anymore. It feels like you don't have the answers. It's okay. It's okay. Or maybe you're one that's here, you're struggling to get clean and sober, and it's just not working, and it's just easier to deconstruct all the God stuff because the God stuff doesn't work. And I would remind you, stay humble, be grateful, and you don't have to have all the answers. Or maybe you have a loved one and they picked up a drink again. They had some sobriety, but they picked up a drink again, or they picked up the drug again. And you're like, man, I don't want to give myself to mystery. What I need in my life is a little certainty. I don't know how to give myself, trust myself to that. And I would remind you, be humble, stay grateful, and remember you don't have to have all the answers. Or maybe you're one of our spiritual refugees. You have just been so burned by religion. You had such a bad experience. You've been burned by the church as an institution, and you're not sure you want to give any sort of spiritual community another chance. And I would remind you, be humble, be grateful, and you don't have to have all the answers in order to move forward. My brothers and sisters, I am not encouraging you to set aside your doubt. Keep your doubt, but keep it in tension. But I do want to ask you a more challenging question. And that is, are you able to doubt your understanding of God while at the same time trusting God beyond your understanding? And they're different. Do you know, as kids, the way we memorized scripture was oftentimes through song, especially at church camp. Did anyone go to church camp as a kid? Man, I did. I was born and raised in that stuff. We would sing the scripture. It was turned into song. One of the songs I learned as a kid in church camp was this scripture, Proverbs 3, verse 5 and 6. But it was a song for us. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all of your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. I'm not a singer. I won't be a sober open mic night. Don't worry about tomorrow. He's got it under control. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart. Yeah. Come on now. All right, I'm just kidding. I am going to be a sober open mic night. I'll be the opening act. No, but I think this ancient proverb, and y'all know what the Proverbs are. They're just a collection of ancient wisdom sayings from the Hebrew people. It highlights something so profound, and that is there's a big difference in doubting God and doubting your understanding of God. And I doubt my understanding of God all the time, especially in starting this free community. I can't tell you how much I doubted my understanding of God. In fact, if you ever want to move through all the stages of faith and doubt, sometimes in the same 24 hours, start something new in your life. Take a step of faith forward. You will experience faith and doubt, and you'll go through all the stages. But see, doubting our understanding of God, it's how we grow. It's important. It brings us into a deeper trust. 1 month after starting free, I received an email from a dear friend of mine, a colleague of mine. She was actually a very vital role in helping Free get started, and she was involved in starting other communities. She wrote an email, and I saved this email, and I want to share just a few of the lines with you in closing. Here's what she said. I had to learn to trust God deeper than I had before. Part of that trusting was learning to trust God's timing. So I had to learn more about discerning where the wave of the Spirit was moving and at what pace, so I could align with that. Time and time again, God's pace was slower than mine, but always worked out. I definitely see the Spirit at work in and through the Free community, so trust in that. It might not go as you think it will. In fact, it won't. It most likely won't go at the pace you imagine, but God is in it. Keep focused on that. Keep taking it step by step and trust God from the bottom of your heart. And here's a favorite verse I turn to often. And at the bottom of the email, she had Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 from the Message. And the Message is another translation. And I love how the Message puts it. Trust God from the bottom of your heart. Don't try to figure out everything on your own. Listen for God's voice in everything you do. Everywhere you go, He's the one who will keep you on track. You see, my brothers and sisters, do you have an awareness of a power that's greater than you working in your life? One who is holding you together, keeping you on track. You see, are you willing to get humble? To get humble and to trust God from the bottom of your heart, even when you don't have all the answers, even in the midst of your really messy spirituality. Salvator ambulando. Are you willing to walk through the process of faith and doubt? And as you walk, are you able to be still here and here? It's possible. So what I want you to do is just take a moment and reflect, and I would invite you to stay quiet during this time. We'll hear a song. It's by a Colorado band called The Fray. Takes us back to the early 2000s. This is Be Still. How are you walking through the process of faith and doubt? How are you moving forward and being still?
to share their experience with us up in the living room. For those of you who have been here before, you will know that this is my first time doing this. I'm filled with so much doubt and absolutely terrified. So thank you. So I would just really ask for your patience and your compassion when I walk through my fear tonight. But if there's one woman out there that I would definitely trust in this journey, it is our guest storyteller, Janine. Janine was my first sponsor back in California. When I found Janine, I was so filled with terror. I couldn't look the world in the eye. And when I invited her to come out here and I told her that I wanted her to be the guest storyteller and that I would be the one interviewing her, she couldn't believe that the person I was today was going to stand in front of all of you guys with a microphone, live streaming, and be able to share my story and share the stage with her. So if it wasn't for the faith that she had in me, and then also for Ryan and Tammy opening their sanctuary to me to be able to do this, it's just such a privilege. So if you would please help me welcome Janine Fox to the stage. She didn't see that last time, so I had to point that out to her. So, Janine, welcome. I know that you were very reluctant to say yes to me, so thank you for having faith enough in me to share this space with you, because free here means so, so much to me, and you mean so much to me. You were one of the people who really started my faith journey, and I know that wasn't easy for you. So if you wouldn't mind giving us a little bit of that story of what it looked like when you had no faith and kind of where you kind of came from.
Okay, well, thank you for having me here. I really enjoyed listening, and this is a recovery community. I just think it's so wonderful. It's a place for people to come and heal, and I feel you can't heal alone. We have to heal together. And thank you, Karie. I was just coming out to spend the weekend with her, and I was so excited about coming, and then I never knew this was going to happen. So now I've been freaked out all day. Like, she's scared. What do you think I am, you know? And it'll be over soon. So this is an example of walking through fear, and I love in the recovery community, there's a prayer for fear, and it is, God, remove my fear of speaking in front of people and direct my attention to what you would have me be. And I've learned that to say that prayer, and I use the serenity prayer as well, and it doesn't matter how scared I am, it's just all that matters is that I show up and I can do something afraid, and maybe I can help someone else who's afraid. And so for me, I was born in England, and alcoholic family system. My mother was an alcoholic. My stepmother was an alcoholic, my father was a gambling addict, and my stepfather was an alcoholic. So they were all alcoholics. None of them were able to take care of a child. So I was thinking with the song about being still, and it made me think of a boat, and how when you drop the anchor, the boat will stop, and it will ground it and hold it. And I thought, I never had an anchor. There was no anchor. I had no one to attach to that I knew would love me and care for me or give me direction or guidance. I was a very lost little girl. I acted out to get attention. I was sent to boarding school when I was 9 years old. And, looking back now, it's like 9 years old is just so young to just be sent away. And, you got to wonder, what did I do wrong to be sent away and not be able to live at home? But actually, with alcoholic parents, maybe it was better for me to be in that place. But I went to a lot of schools, always moving. And so there was never any anchor for me at all. And when I was 14, I was running away by then, and I ran away to find my father when I was 14, and I found him, and he wasn't that happy to see me, and promptly sent me to a convent boarding school that was run by a Mother Superior and nuns. And so that was religious abuse for me with the nuns. You know, they were very shaming. They used to hit us, and that really turned me off religion, and I just had very black and white thinking anyone that was religious was like that experience, and I didn't know what spirituality was. Those words were never spoken when I was a child, and so I was expelled from that convent for, not behaving when I was 16, and then as a punishment, I was sent to Denmark to work in servitude and look after the woman's 3 children in Denmark. I couldn't speak the language. I was on a one-way plane ticket, and so that feeling of being abandoned, rejected, not wanted, and just lost, followed me all through my childhood.
Well, and you said too when we spoke that faith is an attachment, and we also spoke that alcohol then became that attachment for you. It was the one thing that was consistent in your life that you could consistently turn to. Can you speak about that a little bit, of how alcohol and drugs then became your higher power in essence in your faith?
Yeah, that didn't happen till later. My first coping tool that I used was an eating disorder. I had a very severe eating disorder for 20 years. And during that time, when I was probably around 22, 23 years old, I also discovered drugs and alcohol. And for me, what that did for me was it gave me what I never had. It gave me a sense of belonging. It made me not care. It made me feel secure. It was like a buffer between me and other people. I could talk to people. I could have this false confidence. I felt, it made me feel like safe. And I guess what I was always looking for was that, that soothing, something to soothe me. And that's what drugs and alcohol did for me. They soothed me until you hear people talk about this where they don't work anymore. They don't work anymore. The consequences get worse. And then you're trapped in addiction and you can't get out. And so for me, it was shame upon shame upon shame and more shame. And so I was trapped in addiction for a lot of years as well.
And speaking on that, it took you 12 years to get the now 20 years that you had. What was it that what was the switch in you that when you actually started realizing that faith was what was going to be required for you in order to maintain your sobriety? And how did you achieve that?
Well, my addiction became so bad that in 1991, I had my 3rd arrest, and I was sent to AA, and there was a sign above the door that said, "We care," and I didn't know what that meant. For me, that was a foreign language. I went in this room and strangers hugged me and told me they loved me, and it was just so foreign for me. I didn't believe it. I didn't believe what anyone was saying. I thought people that celebrated milestones were lying. They just hadn't been caught. And I thought that was pretty cool. If you had 20 years sober and no one caught you drinking, in a closet, that you must be pretty good at hiding it. I didn't know truth. I feel that is, in these places, where I am right now, I feel that love and truth are what hold us together. And then that creates trust, right? Then you start trusting. But that took me a long time. I struggled with when I saw that I had to believe in a higher power. I just, I thought that, you know, I was going to be changed into somebody pious, and I didn't even know what that meant, you know. And for my religious abuse that I had, I thought that, you know, I was going to be turned into a nun, and I'd rather be an alcoholic than a nun. And I don't know, I'm sorry if there's any nuns in here. I mean, I don't mean any offense, but I was just so confused, and I didn't understand. And so for 12 years, I would come to meetings, I would be intoxicated, I would leave, I would, well, like I heard, I would, instead of going home, I would go to the liquor store. And somehow, I think even in those 12 years, the fact that I was still going and trying, that kept me alive. And the consistency of the love and support of the people, that was a one place in my life that I was never shamed, was in with those people.
And I know we spoke about Gail, who was your
Yeah.
sponsor, my first grand sponsor, and
Yeah.
it was that interaction that you had with her where you believed for the first time that faith was possible. Can you tell us a little bit about Gail and that?
Yeah, this was a very special time. So after my last, like, hitting bottom, you know, I'd hit bottom so many times. What does that look like? Ending up in jail, on life support, whatever? I don't think so. I think hitting bottom is an emotional state. You know, you could just wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning out of your sleep and feel that emotional state of desperation. I can't do this anymore. And that day when I went, I had on the 24th of January 2003, I had 2 drinks in the morning, and it still baffles me that I didn't drink the rest of that day. Like, I cannot explain that. And I went to the meeting, and people had said to me, you should ask Gail to sponsor you. And so I went up to her and I asked her, and I think I caught her off guard because I had a little bit of a reputation causing trouble in there. And she said she would, and I said, can we start right now? Can I do steps 1, 2, and 3, like as soon as possible? Let's start now. You know, there I had the willingness. That was the first thing, you know, like willingness and grace come together in that moment. And we went and sat outside at a table, and I was facing her. And I thought, like, I'm going to ask her a question, and I'm going to know if she's lying to me because I'll see it in her eyes. I'm going to look right in her eyes, and I will know. And I said to her, do you believe in God? And she looked at me, and I felt like I could see into her soul, like I can see her eyes right now. And she said, yes, Janine, I do. And I thought, okay, I believe that she believes. And that was my beginning. And later when we spoke, she said, when I said that, she thought to myself, I've got her. Not that I've got her like I've trapped her or but I've got her like that's the first step, is having a concept. My concept is that this woman, I'm going to trust her, and if she believes and I trust her, then that can be my beginning.
And you and I had a very similar experience because I was very untrusting of the world around me, like I had mentioned before. And you were able to give that to me, and I will be eternally grateful for what you have given me. And you continue to help countless women and young people as well, but both in your profession as well as sponsorship. Can you tell us a little bit about how your faith looks today and how you can continue to lean into it and let it evolve, and like what that looks like present day?
Yeah, I feel that faith works through others. You know, like she was, here comes the emotion again. She was like my guiding light and the first woman that I ever trusted and put faith into. And she believed, you know, she had a higher power, and I wasn't afraid of that. And now, like about a week ago, last Sunday, I listened to a 5th step, and I sat outside in the backyard with this beautiful soul who was broken just like I was, and I listened to her for hours for hours, just unburden herself. And that, I can't explain that. That is like just so incredible. Like with you reading your fearless, God remove my fear of, God remove my fear of, like for an hour listening to that. And then there's a line in the Big Book that says, in AA's Big Book that says, deep inside every man, woman, and child is the fundamental idea of God. So that means it's inside all of us. And I'd always been looking for something outside of me to make me feel better. I never knew I already had it inside me. And so in the last, what keeps me going and what gives me faith is, celebrating, a year or 2 years with a woman that I've taken through the steps, and I've seen her from when she was, her first day sober, and then getting through life's hard challenges like my mother dying, my father dying, and being with each of them when they passed, and done so much work on forgiveness and letting go of all that anger I had for them for not caring for me. Every time I'd see a child with its parent, I would just yearn, for, oh, I wish I could have had that, a mother carrying her child or a father adoring his little girl. And now I can live vicariously through that. I used to be jealous of that, but now I love seeing that because I've healed those wounds. And also my daughter had cancer. She was diagnosed with an aggressive cancer during COVID. She had to go through everything alone because we couldn't go with her. And she had no faith before she was diagnosed, and I watched her start to have faith in a higher power. And that sort of took my faith to another level as well, seeing that happen for her. And I told Karie earlier that there's a place, I love hiking and I love dogs, and Eckhart Tolle calls dogs the guardians of being. And I love that, I love that idea that we can just be, we can be still and we can just turn this mind off. And that's when I feel that your higher power, that God can come in and guide you when you can turn your mind off. And I would always go up to the top of this hill, and there was a spot where I would pray for my daughter, and I'd pray for her life, and she would rally when I told her, I was praying at that spot today, and for you to heal. And when she had healed from her cancer, someone mysteriously started to build a cairn of rocks up there, just in the middle of nowhere, right on the spot where I used to pray for her. And then they put a mailbox in it. And now I call it the mailbox to the universe. And I take people up there in recovery, and we write notes for other people or prayers for people, and we put them in this mailbox, which is filled with all these notes that never existed before, right in that very same spot. Like things like that, when those happen, that was a big one. But every day there's something small that happens that just is another reminder that I'm not alone and that we're all connected. And I think that's what I always wanted, to feel that I wasn't alone and that I could be connected to God and to other people.
Thank you for that. And then in closing, to that person who's still out there, who's struggling to find their faith or struggling to understand why faith matters, is there any hope that you can kind of pass on to them?
I feel that if you're here or if you're watching, that you must have hope. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You'd be somewhere else. You'd be in a bar, or you'd be at home, or whatever, but you wouldn't be here. So I feel you already have hope. And I also think the answers are inside of you. You just don't know that yet. And if you can find somebody like I found somebody, and you can put trust in them, it just takes one person. And then there's this ripple effect, you see, that happens. And just one person can change another person's life, and then that person can change another person's life. And I mean, wouldn't that be great if the world was like that, and that we were all doing this that we're doing right here? That would be incredible. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much again for joining me here on the couch. I will never be able to repay for you what you were given to me. The one thing you always told me was just go pass it on, and I still try to honor that each and every day of my life. So I truly, truly appreciate that, and I hope you can stick around after. So if anybody has questions for Janine or want to tell her that you love her just as much as I do, I hope you can come and meet Janine personally. But thank you all for coming tonight, and give Janine a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janine and Karie. And Janine, I just want to throw it out there because Karie is actually one of my very favorite people. And she was telling me all week that you're one of her favorite people. And Janine, you speak our language here. So next time you're in town visiting dear Karie, I would love for you to come here and speak. Consider it. The pulpit could be yours. Consider it. Throwing it out there next time you come visit. Come give us a message. Just putting it out there. Thank you for that. Seriously. All right, y'all. The way we close things down here on Saturday night is similar to how we begin. We do it with, we start with heartaches, and then we end with, we start with celebrations, end with heartaches. Because what we know every week is you carry around burdens, trying to do it on your own, trying to tell us how strong you are, and God watch this, and we don't need to carry that stuff alone. That's why we have community to lift each other up, encourage each other, pray for one another. So Justin and Kira, we'll pass around a mic. Again, if you're online on YouTube or Facebooks, just Facebooks. It's now plural, Justin. If you're on the Facebook or the YouTube, just drop your heartache on the comments, and we'll heartache with you there, whatever burden you're carrying. And if you're here, just simply put your hand in the air. They'll give you a mic. And we believe here that God always hears the cries of the people. It's a very important part of our time together. So let's take 3. Layla in the front row.
I'd like to pray for my 2 youngest sons. I haven't spoke to them in 6 years, and I found out that they're addicted. So if we could keep them up in prayer.
Praying for your sons and prayers for you.
I just want to pray for my friend. I tried to bring her tonight, but she was too drunk to come. So I just want to lift her up in prayer here now. So thank you.
Lifting her up. Prayers for her. I'm glad you're here.
I'm Melissa. I just want to lift up all the members of our family that are struggling in active addiction, the kids' grandpa, their dad, and my niece.
Thank you, Melissa. Prayers for all those still suffering.
My name is James, and I want to pray for my ex that she'll find her path and her happiness.
All right. Lifting her up, man.
My name's Joy, and I want to pray for my dad because he's the reason I'm here. He's the reason I'm recovering.
All right. That's kind of a celebration, right? Can we celebrate that? We're going to clap for that. Celebrate and pray at the same time.
My name's Mark. I'm an alcoholic. I just want to pray for my mom. She's been in the hospital for like 4 days now with a pretty serious medical condition.
Mark, prayers for your mom. Prayers for your mom, man. Thank you for sharing that with us. Anyone else? There's still another minute left. Right here. Yep.
Hi, I'm Ginger, and I just want to pray that we lift up Grant, who is in the hospital tonight, and for his beautiful service dog lady, that they both may find recovery in more ways than one.
Yeah. Thank you for lifting them up. Prayers for them tonight. Glad y'all are here.
I want to pray for Jimbo. My name's Bobby. My mother-in-law, her husband is in prison, and he is going up for parole on Monday.
All right. Prayers for them, man. Thank you for sharing that with us. Bobby?
Hey, I'm Matt. Want to pray for my cousin Kathy, who's in the hospital.
And I'd also like to pray for my friend Ken, who passed away this last week, and his family.
All right, prayers for the family, your friend in the hospital, your aunt.
Prayers for Jennifer. She's in the hospital with a TIA.
All right, lifting up Jennifer. 3, 2, 1. Thank you, Justin and Kira, for... Justin, can I have that mic? Ricky, do you want to join me up here? Would that make you too nervous to join me up here? Now join me up here. See, I always need someone to join me for heartaches. So what we do is we just read the heartaches online and let them know we're lifting them up.
Okay.
Can I? I'm so proud of you, Ricky. And let me just say, it was so brave of you to share your 15 days clean
16.
from 16. Who's counting? 16 days off fentanyl.
After 3 years.
And y'all, I said, will you please share that tonight, because we have to celebrate those miracles. Because last service there was someone watching a loved one in a coma for the last 3 days because of a fentanyl overdose. And Ricky, you were here a couple of weeks ago, and you were withdrawing on that couch, and you left, and I thought, no bueno, she ain't coming back. And
I've been here every week.
you've been here every week. 16 days clean and sober. Okay. So join me for these heartaches.
Okay, so what do I do?
So it's going to come across the
Okay.
screen, their name, and you just read it.
Okay, Kelly Harris, please pray for my son who overdosed today.
Kelly, prayers for you and your son. Roger, so we go back and forth.
Okay,
right? That's how we do it.
Okay.
Lots of grace. Please pray for Kayla and her boyfriend. They were hit by a hit-and-run driver, totaled the car, and Kayla is really sore. Thank God, no major injuries. Roger, prayers for Kayla and her boyfriend. Glad y'all are with us tonight. Yeah.
Mike Anderson, please pray for my wife. She had her knee replaced again 4 weeks ago, and now she has a fractured femur, and we are waiting to find out the next steps.
Woo. Prayers for you, Mike. Prayers for your wife, man. Terry says, I have a friend 35 days sober, experiencing a lot of job and family issues. Terry, prayers for your friend. Glad you're with us tonight, lifting them up. And that red dot means, oh, we have one more. Let's do one more. Yeah.
Dalton, pray for my dad. He just found out he has cancer after just losing both his parents recently.
Yeah. Prayers for Dalton. We got one more. They just keep coming. I got one more. Free family, please pray for our friend of ours, Veronica. She is facing some scary medical concerns. She has been in the hospital for a week now. Additional tests will run today. Prayers that she and her husband have answers tomorrow so that they know which direction to go. Thanks so much. Free, please send some love to Veronica. Veronica, sending you all the love we can muster tonight. Thank you, Jen and Chrissy, for lifting her up. You want to stay up here with me for the final prayer?
Sure.
Because, the prayer is important.
Okay.
But before the prayer, I've got to remind people about how we keep the mission thriving here at Free. I remind people this every week, and I know many of you have made this a spiritual practice in your life, a sacrificial practice in your life. Your generous giving here helps keep the mission of breaking the silence of addiction thriving in this community, in the world, in the broader community. And if you feel compelled to give tonight, if you call this place home, we encourage your generous giving. We have a giving box here and one just outside these doors. And there's also 3 online ways to give. And the first way is to just download the app. It's free to download, Free Spiritual Community. All of our content is on that app, all of the guest storytellers. And you can give one time or weekly, monthly, however you want to do it. And then on the website, freespiritualcommunity.com, you can give there as well. There's usually music to this video. Do you hear it? Or you can text the number on your screen and do the same thing. There's the music. It'll walk you through a simple set of instructions. Your generous giving here helps the mission keep going here at Free and everywhere. So thank you so much for being a part of that. Shall we close in a prayer? So yeah, we're gonna say it together, Ricky.
Okay.
Okay. So
repeat after you?
no, it's gonna be on the screen. We'll just read it. We're gonna all say it together.
Okay.
But I want to encourage everyone to open their hands. It's a sign of openness to God moving in our midst. The God of the universe who is always breathing life. So take a big, deep breath. Yeah, sometimes when you feel God is distant, you breathe to remember God of the universe is in your breathing. It's like God saying, I can't get any closer than that. So let's go out with a serenity prayer. If you don't know it, it'll be on the screen. And it goes like this. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. My free brothers and sisters, go in all kinds of grace and peace, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Ricky. Great job.